Yeah, so I'm Mike Longstaff, and the orange and black car behind me is a RoadRunner Racing SR2.
So tell me a little bit about your background and the company.
Right, well, I served my time as a HGV mechanic and spent 7 years, did all my college training and everything else, and after I'd completed all that, I worked in the haulage industry for a few years, and then I started working for Vauxhall, and then I worked for Nissan, and then in 1988 I set up my own company, and for the last 33 years I've owned a few garages and MOT stations. And then an eBay advert 12 years ago for sale was a RoadRunner Racing Sprint R, which is very, very similar to the blue and gold car that's behind me, and I bought that, and it was quite expensive, and it had a Yamaha R1 engine, and I absolutely loved it, and I did a lot of track days with it. And because I'd bought that, I needed a few spare parts for it, so I got chatting to the owner of RoadRunner Racing, and they were developing a MX-5 based SR2 at the time, so I put an order in for one of them. So the one I got was one of the, I think it was the third one that was made, and I enjoyed that as well. And because I can't drive two cars at the same time, I sold me SR1 and completed the SR2, and then I'd only had it on the road a few months, and Steve Holland rang me up and said that he was selling RoadRunner Racing because he had a lot of commitments to do with his other businesses, and we came to an agreement, and I bought RoadRunner, and amongst that all the rights for the SR2 were the moulds and the drawings for the SR1 as well. We didn't do anything with that because I shan't go into it, but the original jigs for the SR1 of that were destroyed. So we paid Dave Flavel, who designed the SR2, to redesign the SR1 using some Mazda mechanicals instead of Ford, and for a Suzuki engine rather than the Yamaha engines. And we also do another version of that, which is called an LM1. If you Google RoadRunner Racing LM1 on YouTube and that, you'll find there's only two of those cars. Both of them are in Italy. They're both road legal. One's got an Hayabusa in it, and the other one's got a GSX R1000. Over the last 12 years, obviously it's my sort of second business, and at the moment, you know, again, it's more of a hobby than a full-scale business. But we've built about 30 cars, and probably about 20 odd of them are in Italy. There's one or two in America, there's one or two in Holland and Germany and places. There's still a few in this country, but yeah, the Italians prior to Brexit just seem to love them, and they've really enjoyed them. They've been very successful on the track with the LM1. So the blue and gold one has got a Suzuki GSX R1000 in it. It's virtually road registered. We've just got a couple of little niggles to sort for completing the IVA, and then a month or two we should be fully road legal with that one. We've obviously not IVA'd one of them before, so obviously a bit of a learning curve there, whereas the SR2, obviously we know we've put a lot through the test, so we know exactly what we're doing with that one. Obviously performance wise, the little single seater only weighs 360 kilograms with an 180 brake horsepower Suzuki engine. The orange and black car, that's in its sprint mode. That has a windscreen option with a different scuttle that just can be fitted in an hour, and that one has a removable roll cage as well. But that's got like a stage 3 Mazda MZR 2-litre engine in it, and that's 280 brake horsepower at the moment. So both cars are incredibly quick. We're currently building a new one for the owner of the black and orange one, which will be a supercharged engine. So that should be completed later on this summer. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed my 12 years doing my stuff with RoadRunner. I've met some amazing people. We've had some amazing track days. We've been to the Nürburgring a few times, met some brilliant people there, and obviously met a few of your celebrity drivers. And you know, as a bit of a petrol head, you know, I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I love cars and I love making things. Obviously my MOT business and garages, that sort of servicing and repair work, well, you know, I did that for 30 odd years, and you know, I leave it to my staff to do that now. And I say I just enjoy the engineering side and the challenges. This latest SR2 we're building, there's quite a lot of I wouldn't say improvements, but modifications, because we're in the fortunate position with this one where we're not pushed for time. It'll just take as long as it takes to build it. And you know, me and Neil, who's building it with me, he's retired from the aerospace industry, and you know, we can spend time trying things, and if they don't quite work, well, we'll try another solution. Whereas obviously when you're under pressure to get things out the door on time and on budget, it's a different approach. So you know, we're enjoying that at the moment.
So tell us about the kit packages for the two different models.
Well, there's still a kit package available for the SR2, although obviously with the last few years with all this COVID thing and everything, obviously we've sort of kept quiet on that front. The SR1, I haven't decided what I'm doing with that yet. It's very difficult to cost it, and we'd need to write a manual up and everything else for that. It is a reasonably complex build, because if you think about it, because it's road legal, it's got all the same systems in it as the SR2, but in half the space. So all the electrics, your lighting, you know, everything else is all squeezed into that, you know, that front area. So that took an awful lot of work. It's got an electric reverse on it as well, obviously, which the SR2 doesn't need. So it's not really in a position at the minute where you could sort of build a kit for somebody, sensibly priced, and then just say, there you go, just screw it all together at home, because it won't work like that. So I've got a few inquiries for factory built ones, but obviously again, you know, back to the current climate. I mean, I've not even been allowed to travel out the country for 3 years, which I'm a bit annoyed about. But you know, and it's like materials, you know, I've ordered some steel for some roll cages and things, and it's gone up half as much again since my previous order. Well, how can you cost something on that basis, you know, and get, you know, brochures printed and everything else, when every time you try and order something, it's gone up in price? So at the moment, we've just been a little bit cautious on that. So, you know, as I say, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a website, so keep an eye on that. And, you know, obviously if things change, then, you know, I can let people know. But, you know, I am getting a steady trickle of inquiries. And obviously a previous feature on the single seater obviously raised quite a lot of interest. Obviously, you know, a lot of people remember the original Sprint R with the Yamaha engine in. About 15 of those were built, I think, worldwide. And what's quite amazing is that each time they get sold, they go up in price.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Well, I think it's just the nature of the game. Obviously each owner spends a bit of money, does a few improvements, but the one which I sold 10 years ago is sold recently for more money than I sold it for 10 years ago. So they are quite a good investment from that point of view, and the SR2 is as well. You know, the residual values really hold well, as they do with most of those type of cars. And I suppose that's because, unlike very modern mainstream production cars, they're, you know, DIY maintenance. You know, you've not got all these complex electronics and all that to deal with. Okay, you can. The latest one we're building has got a full wireless button control system on the steering wheel, but it is sort of plug and play. And you're not dealing with airbags and ABS and, you know, all the other complications of your modern cars. And I think that appeals to a lot of people that like to do their own maintenance and all that kind of thing.
The donor for the two-seater, can you?
Yep. The donor is just the Mark 1 or Mark 2 MX5. the NA or NB model as it's known. Again, because they stopped making them in 2005 they stopped making them, which is 17 years ago. They're getting a little bit harder to find now, but I've got a container full of spare parts, and there's still a lot of breakers and salvage specialists that's got lots and lots of parts, but it's a single donor, so it uses engine, gearbox, diff, drive shafts. They're all just standard. They don't have to be modified in any way, the drive shafts. All the braking system, uprights, and then we modify the steering column. It has a custom made rack, but the steering column is modified from the MX-5. The prop shaft is shortened off the MX-5, and the uprights are modified slightly at the front off the MX-5. Other than that, it's MX-5. You know, you've got enough bits there to complete the build. The single seater, that's a bit different, but that uses MX-5 brakes, handbrakes, cables, and the uprights and stuff like that.
In terms of the two-seater, the kit packages,
yeah,
is there like a kit package, or is there several?
It's just a kit package. Again, we're back to, you know, very, very small volumes. What we found was a few years back, we've never ever offered just a chassis kit, and the reason that I'm a bit reluctant to go that way is I don't want to draw people into building a kit that's maybe stretched financially, and then a few years later they order a few more parts, and then a few years after that they order a few more parts, because inevitably them kits never get finished. So our kit, you know, when you purchase it, it comes with everything you need, plus your donor, to actually get a car finished and sorted, bar a few cosmetic things, if you like the boot panel kit and things like that, and the transmission tunnel cover. So you need a few little extras, but for the most part it comes with all the main bodywork, all the suspensions pre-fitted, steering's pre-fitted, pedal box is fitted. It comes with all the master cylinders, and you know, we do a brake pipe kit, a couple of other extras that go with that. But it is a very comprehensive chassis. All the floor aluminium panel work, side panels are all factory fitted. So from that point of view, it's a lot more finished than a lot of the kits, but obviously that's reflected in the price. But I tried to do it so that those people that have built them, and I think, you know, the owners that have built them have done a really good job, was the idea that when someone built one in their garage at home, it would look and be to the same standard as one that we did in the factory. And you know, it's like people ask, oh, can I have a chassis that isn't powder coated? Well, no, you can't, because I'm not going to spend 2 weeks making a chassis to let you paint it with some hammerite. It needs to be powder coated. So that's in with the price. You know, you can't buy little bits and pieces. You need to buy the full package, and as I say, that's the same as what the factory uses to build a car, and you should be able to complete it to the same standard with only basic tools, to be honest.